So I know why I did it, but I'm still just like disappointed in myself. I started crying my eyes out in the middle of the Barnes & Noble parking lot. And she runs at me and she goes, "Don't open the trash can." And I was like, what do you mean? Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something that I'm both excited about and super terrified about, and we are going to be spinning the Wheel of No Appeal. This is going to be episode 2. If you haven't seen episode 1, make sure to jump back to see the rules and everything. But we have a green spot to fill in from the last video. It went okay last video. Like, the book wasn't the best, but it was a green space, so I wasn't like dreading reading it. It was not one of the red spaces. If you don't want to go back to that video very quickly, the colors don't really mean that much other than red. I guess they kind of mean something. Red is books that I really, like, I'm excited about, but I also absolutely don't want to read ever. Like, I don't want to. So Babel, we have Babel, Empire of the Vampire, Lessons in Chemistry, and Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, and Tomorrow, and Tomorrow. So those 4 are like the biggest. I don't want to read them. Yellow is, I want to read them, but for one reason or another, I don't really want to, and I probably won't pick it up without a shove. And that's the Jasmine Throne, because it's really, long, and The Lost Apothecary is because I've actually tried to read it before, and I wasn't in the mood to read it then, and I put it down. So that one's, that one scares me. Dark purple, blue, and light purple are like, I do want to read them, but again, for some reason or another, there's something else that keeps coming up. And then green is actually really want to read, but something happens. But green is like the ideal, and we landed on a green space last time, which was really good. So I'm going to up the ante a little bit on my other green spot. It's still going to be a safe spot because I'll be excited to read what's on that spot. However, it's going to have a caveat. So I am going to replace that green spot with a series. It is going to be the Magician series. I have had these books literally for forever. They may be some of the first books that went into my library from a couple years ago, and I bought all 3 books, and then I've heard not great things about them. Like, they don't have good reviews. They're not very long though, so it shouldn't like take me forever to get through them if I land on them. But yeah, it's a 3-book thing. So even though I really want to read it, I haven't picked them up because I have heard not great things. The TV series was actually kind of fun, which made me want to read them more. But then the series started going downhill, which made me want to read them less, even though I know it like went off track. Yeah, but a whole series is daunting, and anytime I like think of picking up the first book, I'm like, do I really want to read a whole series right now? Because I'm one of those people that if I read the first book, if I have the rest of the series, I will read it immediately. So that's why I put it on here as a series, and the whole series will be on the vlog, as long as I don't DNF, because that is one of my other rules. I am allowed to DNF, but if I DNF, I respin. I add a new one on the board and I respin in the same video. So the idea is, technically, this video could go on forever. I could get through my whole TBR. But that's my rule. I have to finish a book off of this wheel for this to count. So the Magicians is up there. We are going to spin. We are ready to spin this baby. I'm still trying to figure out a better way to like film this. So ignore the crappy quality currently. Oh man. Okay, we finally landed on one of my like not great spaces. I'm just so not excited about reading this. I'm just so not excited about reading it because I've already tried, but we'll see. And I guess it's appropriate because I've literally been seeing a bunch of people posting and tagging her new book, The Seance Society, as want to read. So I feel like that was fate that this was gonna happen. But let me go grab the book, and then we're going to talk about it very quickly before we cut to me actually reading it, which won't actually happen for a couple of days, but okay, brought the book. You can tell I actually already did start it. I got through, how many pages did I get through the first time? got through 24 pages, and then I put it down and didn't pick it up again. This had dust covering it. Oh man, I am so not excited about this. And I also just don't like historical fiction, and I didn't really figure that out until later. It is only 300 pages, thank goodness. I also love the back. It's just a little beetle. But you can tell I got this from Book of the Month, and I was really, really excited about this one. I think this was like my main pick. And I just lost interest. So this is why this is a yellow, because for me this is like a high DNF probability. In the 18th century London, secret apothecary shop caters to an unusual kind of clientele. Women across the city whisper of a mysterious figure named Nella who sells well-disguised poisons to use against the oppressive men in their lives. This is why I thought I would love it. It sounds exactly like something I would read. Anyway, Nella's dark world is no place for her newest patron, a precocious 12-year-old girl named Eliza Fanning, but their unexpected bond sparks a string of consequences that echoes through the centuries. And then we're following 200 years later, an aspiring historian, Caroline Parswell, discovers an aged apothecary vial in the River Thames, and she's grappling with the searing betrayal of her husband's infidelity. A curious research project is exactly the distraction she needs. And so she's looking between the link between the vial and the London's long unsolved apothecary murders. So the thing is, it sounds like I would love it. And that's why I didn't get rid of it. I got 24 pages in and I was like, maybe this is just not the time to read it. And I put it down and I just didn't pick it back up. I just haven't picked it back up. And I feel like I've had this, because it came out in 2021, so 2 years. That's a little too long, in my opinion, to keep a book, which is funny because I just got rid of a book I've had for 10 years. And I DNF forever ago and just didn't want to get rid of. So we are going to read this. I probably won't start this for a couple of days, like I said. I need to finish the other 2 books first, and then we will get to this. And I'm getting a little more excited about it. A little more excited after rereading the synopsis, but I'm still nervous because I have DNF'd this before. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with this one. I'm going to have a quick update for you, but first I have a little mini book haul, and then I have the weirdest life update ever. But first, a mini book haul because I went to Barnes & Noble yesterday, and that's actually part of one of the stories afterwards, because it's wild. But this was a celebratory haul. I was actually only there to pick up Chain of Thorns, obviously, which actually came with an art print. I don't know where the art print went. But you can get the art you can see what the art print is on, I think on Instagram or something, but it's basically just all 3 covers. And I also realized that this was a mistake to get, because if you don't know, if you haven't watched my goals video, I have a TBR cart, like the Michaels carts upstairs, and everything I buy goes on that cart to read. Do you know how behind I am in this series? I have finished The Mortal Instruments, the whole series, because I didn't realize you were supposed to like read the first 3, then read The Infernal Devices, then read the last 3. Didn't know that, which is why the end was kind of confusing. But I've read 2 books in the Immortal Devices series and like half of the 3rd book. I'm on the 3rd book. I'm gonna have to reread parts of it because I don't know what's happening. I read like 1 a year. So when I picked this up and I brought it home, I was like, oh my god, I have to put it on that cart. And I was like, no, I can make an exception. No, I can't, because if I make one exception, I'm going to start finding reasons for other exceptions. But I really wanted this one because I have the other 2 that say like the collector's first edition. And because I bought one that says that, I need all 3 that say that, even though I'm 1000% going to buy these in paperback at some point, because I love the spines on the paperbacks, like where you line them up and they do something. I have all the other ones in paperback with those spines, so I will be buying them because of the spines. But for some reason I got so hyped about this series, I bought all 3 in the hardback. I don't know what's wrong with me, to be honest. I love those books. They're all 4 or 5 stars. So I know why I did it, but I'm still just like disappointed in myself. But anyway, this is one of the books that I got, and I wasn't gonna get anything else, but one of the weird life updates was, if you did not watch Seriously, this is wild. If you did not watch Reading My Least Favorite Books or whatever, in that video, I was really upset in one of the clips because I lost something, and I didn't like really elaborate too much, but it was a very expensive necklace. Like, for me, very expensive. It was like $700. That's wildly expensive, and like my husband had been saving up for it, and it was a 5-year anniversary gift for our wedding, and because we've been together 10 years, we've been married 5 years. So I latched it incorrectly and it fell off somewhere. So we had the chain got stuck in this jacket actually. And so when I got home, we found the chain, but there was no pendant, and I was devastated. And the only place that I went that day was Barnes & Noble. And so yesterday I went to that Barnes & Noble, as I have 6 other times. My husband, he has even come with me just to check the parking lot. I get to the Barnes & Noble, I get out of my car, kind of scan the ground just because it's habit now. It's habit now anywhere we go just to look at the ground for it, because it's been a month. It's been like a month since this happened. And I walk behind my car, look down at my phone, and as I'm looking down at my phone, I see something shiny, and I look to the side, and it's sitting there. And I was like, oh my god, it's been a month. And I've literally searched this spot, and it's just sitting there. I started crying my eyes out in the middle of the Barnes & Noble parking lot. I had to jump back in my car. Like, I picked it up, obviously. Jumped up back in my car, FaceTimed my husband, showed him, and he was like, oh my god, where did you find that? And then I FaceTimed my mom, my dad, and my mother-in-law. And they're all just like, how the hell did you find that in the Barnes & Noble parking lot after a month and after like 7 rainstorms? And you can tell it's been out there a while, and it's been run over quite a few times. Like, this gold, it's white gold. The diamonds, luckily, I think there's a few little ones missing, but the main, like, bigger diamond is okay. The back of it looks rough because white gold is soft, and it is beat up, but I don't care. So that was my update, and that's why I ended up buying more books, because I was like hyped, because I sat in my car for like a half an hour calling people crying, and then I went into the bookstore and I was just like, books. So I got this one, Chain of Thorns. I also picked up The Killing Code because the same author who writes this is the author who wrote None Shall Sleep, which is really, really cool, and is about like kids working for FBI as serial killers. So this one has to do like with wartime, and they're using code cracking, and I was like, this sounds so cool. And I also picked up one of my anticipated books for this month that came out a little early, and it is Wild Blood. This cover is just as stunning as it looked online, which I'm really excited about, and I'm so excited to pick this one up. And then I got the bind up. I did not know about these. Holly Black, I've read everything she's done except apparently this. I haven't heard of this. Curse Workers, and this is a bind up of all 3 books, and I was like, yes, please. But it's different because it's a male protagonist, and I don't know if I've read one where she has a male protagonist, which is very interesting. So I'm excited. This looks really, really cool, and it seems kind of like urban fantasy. And so these are the 4 books that I got, and I am so excited. I really was trying not to buy anything this month. I was so trying. I was doing well. I'm saying that, but it's literally the 3rd of February. It's so bad, guys. It's such a problem. But these are like ones that I really wanted, at least Wild Blood and The Killing Code. So hopefully I won't buy anything else for a few weeks. I don't know, it's bad. Anyway, second update came from work. Someone pooped in one of our trash cans. People are wild. And the reason that that's weird, if you don't know, I work at a very, very, very large hospital, and I don't even work with the public. I work in the lab, away from the public, and somehow the public still finds us. And we don't know who it was. We don't know if it was a patient, if it was a visitor, if it was a staff worker. We don't know. We don't know who it was, but I came into work, and my friend runs up to me. I work second shift, so I start at 2. So I get there at like 1:45, and she runs at me, and she goes, "Don't open the trash can." And I was like, what do you mean? And so when she says open the trash can, I know immediately it's one of our biohazard trash cans, and it turns out it was. If you've never seen a biohazard trash can, picture, do you know the trash cans you put outside the house for the trash man? They're like 4 feet tall. That. Someone pooped in that. Think of the logistics. We don't understand how they did it. They must have like stood on a smaller trash can or a box or if we don't know. We don't know. So these trash cans are kept like downstairs and they're rolled up to us when we need a new one, and they like disinfect the other ones. So apparently when they rolled it up, they didn't notice that somebody had literally pooped in it while it was downstairs. So apparently someone got into that room, climbed up onto this 4-foot tall trash can and pooped in it. And apparently it was everywhere. Because I thought someone was like unscrewing fecal specimens and like pouring them in when they're not supposed to, which is like, it's making me gag. I don't have to deal with those specimens, thank God. I just deal with the blood. And was pouring them in and making like a pile, but no. So that's that update. So now we're dealing with Poopgate and the Phantom Pooper. So everyone's been talking about it because it's weird. It's so weird. And we don't know why this stuff happens to us in the lab. But anyway, finally onto the book. I have a very short update for that. I feel like I'm not going to have a lot to talk about with this book because it's very... How to describe this book? I feel like now that I've read about, how many pages have I read? I've now read about 100 pages. It's a lot different than I thought. It's following actually 3 different main characters. One is in the present day, and she is dealing with an infidelity with her husband, and she is roaming London alone, and she finds an apothecary bottle and is now researching the history into it. In the past, in the other two storylines, which I'm kind of sad about because I'm enjoying the main storyline, like the current day storyline, much better than the past ones, which is sad because I think the point is the past ones. But in the past ones, we were following one character, Nellie, who is the apothecary lady, and she sells poisons, etc., to women who want to like get rid of their husbands or deal with situations. And a little girl comes into her store one night and basically needs some poison for her mistress's husband. They want to get rid of him. So that's how you introduce her, and then she becomes a character. Like, you're actually following her and her actions and what she wants to do. So I feel like I don't know how she has to do with it, but we're just following her, and we're following those 3 women. The weirdest reading experience I've had in a while, because it is both fascinating and boring at the same time. And I don't understand how that's possible. Like, I'm excited to read this, but when I'm reading it, I'm thinking, okay, let this chapter be over. But I'm also thinking, this is really cool. So I'm just kind of confused. Like, what's happening in my brain? It's very strange. It is a very, very strange, the experience that I'm having right now. So I really don't know how to explain it other than it is both great and boring at the same time. And that is pretty much my update, because nothing like a ton has happened. Like, they poisoned the husband and that happened, and that's pretty much it on that side. And then on the present day side, she did something really cool called mudlarking, where she found the bottle. So they go into the Thames and search on the surface of the mud for like old ancient artifacts from early days. And that's how she found the bottle. And then she went to go ask about the bottle. No one knows about it. It's got a little etching of a bear on it. And so she's kind of researching, and she's about to go to Bear Alley. And she just got a message from her husband, who's forcibly going to go to London to force her to talk to him, even though he should really back off because he's a cheating creep. I'm really loving the current day plotline because I like the mystery and her trying to figure it out and dealing with the drama of her husband. So I'm enjoying that. So I'm curious where this is going, and it is not a DNF. So that's where I'm at. We're going to continue with this. I hope you enjoyed my life updates, and I will see you guys in the next clip. Sorry, you can probably hear my fan, but I'm too lazy to go turn it off, and my neighbors are being loud, so it's kind of drowning the sound out. But I'll do my final update in a quiet area. But I'm about 225 pages in. I totally forgot to update. yeah, it's gone from being entertaining but boring to just pretty much boring. And then something just happened that I absolutely hate. Like, I absolutely hate the route that they're taking in this story in the present day. And I'm just like, they're doing like a misunderstanding kind of thing, and I am so over it. I'm so over it. And basically, they're gonna think that, I don't think that's really a spoiler. Like, I feel like there's no spoilers in this book, but they're basically going to think that our main character was trying to kill her husband, even though he accidentally ingested eucalyptus oil like a moron. Like, he was like, do you have any Dayquil? And she's like, yeah, it's in actually, no, I don't have any of that, but I do have eucalyptus oil that I often use. And so instead of asking her, you know, how to use it, he drinks some of the bottle and is now like poisoned, so he's going to the hospital. And they now think she's going to do it because she's been taking notes about the apothecary killer lady that's in the past. So they're seeing her notes, and it's like, smallest amount of non-lethal poison to cause death. And they see that in the notebook, so now they're arresting her. I think they're arresting her. They're asking her to come down to the station, and I'm just like, I'm over it. I don't like it. I'm too far into it to DNF at this point. I have about 60, or no, what am I, 225? So about 75 pages left. I'm just gonna finish it so that I don't have to read another one from the wheel. But this is definitely not gonna have a great rating, I think, for me, unless something wild happens that changes it. Don't see it happening. Well, guys, we are officially done with The Lost Apothecary, and it's actually been 2 days since I read this, but I worked yesterday, and so therefore did not have the strength nor motivation to give an update. And it's Sunday morning, and I don't know why I do this, because I also work today, so I have little strength and motivation to be updating. But we're gonna do it because I want to get this over with, because this is a 2-star. This is a 2-star bordering on a 1-star. But there were sections of it that I enjoyed, so I bumped it up to a 2 to be nice. But this is one of those books that when I set it down the first time, I should have trusted myself. I should have trusted myself instead of saying, oh, maybe I just wasn't in the mood. No. I just did not like this. This book went from being entertaining and boring at the same time to just downright boring. And then the decisions that were made at the end of this book drove me bonkers. So before I get into spoilers, let's just talk very quickly. It just exists. This book exists. I probably won't pick up another from this author. It kind of is just solidifying the fact that I don't like historical fiction, really, except for a very specific time zone, and young adult fiction. For some reason, I'm totally fine with young adult historical fiction, because most of the time young adult historical fiction is more focusing on storylines that I find entertaining. I don't know what it is. Adult historical fiction I just find wildly boring. So due to that fact, yeah, oh man, I'm sad because this is a pretty cover. This is one of the only books that Book of the Month did like gold foiling on, and it's so pretty. It's so pretty, and I appreciate the little detail of the beetle on the back, because the downfall relates to a beetle. So it's just boring. That's what it is, and it's stupid decisions at the end. That's literally all I have to say about this. Okay, I did like the setting. I thought the setting was done really well. I thought that the modern day stuff was still more interesting, but there was literally a whole section, I think I talked about this, about looking through maps for like 4 or 5 pages, and I was just like, oh my god. And then there was no need for 2 points of view in the past. Eliza, the little girl who's like a 12-year-old, so annoying, especially towards the end. She's just constantly in your face and just so obnoxious, and I was just like, oh my god. I'd say Nella is definitely easily the best character, the most distinguished. She was the apothecary, and she actually had like a very interesting story, and I feel like I wish they had just not had Eliza's point of view. They had Eliza too much in it. Eliza turned out to be like, I would say, the bigger voice in the past than Nella was. Nella kind of was just directing things as they went. But she was like the more interesting character. Caroline in the present was the most interesting, and then it just kind of started diving off. Like, it became very unbelievable that she just managed to stumble upon these things when they've never been found before. I don't know. It felt very unbelievable. It felt very, if you liked the cartographers, oh man, if you've watched my cartographers video, then you know why that's funny. I hated that book. I hated that book so much, but this felt like the cartographers. I was getting major cartographer vibes because of the mystery solving aspect of this, and it was very dry and kind of weird, like hidden things. So if you like the cartographers, you might like this. Anyway, let's very quickly talk about spoilers, because there's just two things I want to talk about. First of all, the thing that I said I wasn't enjoying where it was going didn't happen. So what happened is that her husband, Caroline's husband, the one who cheated on her, came to London to try and apologize, and he ended up drinking this eucalyptus oil because he asked Caroline what he can use for, he started having a cough, so she's like, go use the eucalyptus oil. So he drinks it and gets horribly sick in the hospital, and they find her notebook and they think that she purposely poisoned him. And I was like, we are not doing this. We are not doing this. Turns out it was wound up pretty quickly, so I was like, okay, this is fine. I also found it hilarious that her husband James did it on purpose. I did not see that coming. That made me cackle, the fact that he did that. I was like, you idiot. You idiot. And so that was wildly entertaining, that part at least. But the parts the parts that were dumb, Eliza jumping off into the Thames was wild, and the fact that she survived, and Nella thinking she had died. Like, why did she not come find Nella and be like, I'm alive? No, instead Nella is like ragingly sick and goes to find the mistress of the house to tell the mistress that Eliza's dead. And Eliza, as Nella collapses, Eliza comes running out with a red potion. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if Nella survived and we just don't know. That was very ambiguous. I don't know what was going on with that, and they didn't really ever explain that. But the most the most obnoxious part, we'll do obnoxious first and the most unbelievable second. The most obnoxious part is that Caroline, who's going to write about this, her discovery of this apothecary and the murders, etc., and how the murder of Lord, I don't even remember his name, Clarence, Lord something, wasn't on purpose. It was actually supposed to be his mistress who died, and he's the one who drank it. So she wants to write all about this, how she was the one who's supposed to be dead the whole time. And she decides that she's not going to include Liza. Why? Like, why? Why wouldn't you include her? She's such an important part of the story and what happened. It's literally like she's important. So Caroline's like, the bottle that I found belonged to Eliza, and I know she's the one who jumped from the Thames, and I found that she survived, and I just want her story to stay with me, and I don't want to share it with anybody else. And it's like, okay, whatever. And then throws the bottle back in the Thames, like a priceless item that would have helped her thesis and her dissertation. She throws back in the Thames. Okay. Just, okay. Sure, okay. And it would have been that item that you keep for all time and be like, this was my motivation. This is the person Eliza's the person who I want to thank, who lived in the past, and you tell her story. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't. But the most unbelievable part is the fact that she has been out of work for 10 years. She's been out of school for 10 years, did a history degree, and has been working in like a little bit of accounting or something like that for her family's farm, and she gets into Cambridge. I'm sorry. How did you get into Cambridge after 10? That is like a notorious issue of women in the workplace, is women who give up everything for their children and their husband, and then when they try to go back to work or back to school, no one will take them. It's becoming a little less of a problem, at least with like, there's a lot of smaller technical schools that have popped up that are doing great things by admitting people who don't have a lot of history and background in work to actually get them on their feet, and I love it. But Cambridge is not one of them. Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Ivy Leagues in the US, that's not a thing. The only thing I can imagine, and that I'm choosing to believe, or this is a one, is that her dissertation was just that good, but I can't even see her getting past like opening rounds of them looking at her application. I don't understand. And she's going into English, not history. So sometimes there's an issue with crossing over into different majors if there's not enough background. So again, gonna choose to believe she had enough English credits to satisfy Cambridge. So I don't know. If you went to Cambridge and you know better, let me know, because I am incredibly curious if this is even reasonable, this ending, because I like the ending. I like that she got in and is doing this crazy dissertation, but it just feels so, no, it does not feel real at all, which I was laughing about because it's, no. So anyway, that's literally all I have to say about the book. It just was not for me. It was definitely an easy ranking of a 2-star, like I said, almost a 1-star, and it was so boring. But by the time it really, really started to drag, I was 200 pages in of a 300-page book, and I'm just like, I'm gonna finish it. I'm gonna finish it. So I just plowed through the end of it, and I don't know. It could have been a take or leave situation. Skimming the end would have given me the same feelings that I had, minus the whole James trying to poison himself, which I greatly, greatly enjoyed. It was very strange and kind of hilarious that he was that desperate. But anyway, this is my Wheel of No Appeal spin. Yeah, very interesting Wheel of No Appeal spin. I'm definitely glad this is off my TBR. This is going on the never want to see again pile. So it is, see, it's accomplishing something. It's accomplishing something. I found a book that I can get rid of from my library that's not going to be sitting around for the next 2 years, because that's what it's done already. This came out in 2021. So I'm now in 2023. So this has been sitting around for probably a year and a half, because it probably came out like halfway through the year. But anyway, I can get rid of this book, and yeah, that's all I got for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed this Wheel of No Appeal. It did not go well, but again, good thing that happened. I'm getting a book off my shelf, so that's always good. That's always good. More room for new stuff, which is maybe actually not very good. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully, I don't think I'll have time in February to do another Wheel of No Appeal, so probably the next one will be March. I like to do them in the first week, get them over with, just in case it's bad. But expect the next one to come out in the 1st of March, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Make sure you like the video, make sure you comment down below if you've read this, if you were thinking about reading it, if you still want to read it, because I think people who like historical fiction and The Cartographer specifically will enjoy this book. So I think there's definitely an audience for this that will really enjoy it. So keep that in mind. I would still pick it up if you're interested, and that's all I got for you, so I'll see you in the next video.